Hey guys, what's going on? Adam from Say Exotics. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new guys, please do me a massive favour. Please smash that subscribe button. It really means the world to me. Please leave a like, drop a comment and ting that notification bell so you don't get to miss a future upload. So in today's video guys, I want to touch on sort of projects to get into. Now I had a question recently from someone asking me what I thought was the best route for him to go into. He had a certain amount of money, he had a certain amount of housing, and what was the best thing for him to do? Would it be to buy a really cool recessive male and a few het females, or would it be to buy sort of codom stuff, maybe 2 or 3 gene animals and sort of mix and match them like that? Now there isn't an easy answer. It depends on an array of factors, things like the time scale in which you want to accomplish your mission, if you want to call it a mission, your funding, how much money have you got to actually spend, and of course the housing. Now what long term do you want to accomplish? Do you want to just create animals for yourself to say you created them? Do you want to jump on the bandwagon and try and create world's first and try and create really expensive snakes? The world's your oyster and there isn't a right or wrong answer. It just depends solely on what you want to do. If I could go back in time and completely start again, would I do things differently? Yeah, I probably would. I'd probably go into the recessive route from the off. I'd probably buy myself, if I only had X amount of money and a small rack, for example, maybe 6 or 7 tubs in a rack, I would most probably buy a really cool high-end recessive visual male and then fill out the rest of the tubs with female hets. Now they could be 2 or 3 gene hets, codom stuff, you know, with a recessive het on top. That's what I would most probably do. Now again, it does depend on what you want to accomplish. Now I myself and a lot of other breeders just want to create really cool stuff to keep and then obviously put for sale the stuff that we don't need, that don't fit in the plans for future projects. Now the best part about this hobby is that it keeps evolving. Your ideas, your projects, your goals will keep changing, will keep evolving. Even the best breeders in the world with the biggest collections, that's what they do. That's what their business model is, if that makes sense. They want to create a certain project. Once they hit that project, they want to know what genes would make that project better. It's not just about stacking as many genes as you can into an animal. It's about selecting the right genes so you can put them into your project to further that project, to make that project stand out. If you want to make the pattern more, you know, predominant, or you want to make the color stand out more, or if you want to take away certain pattern or take away certain color, it all depends what you want to do. Now if you're starting out, you're not going to want to worry about things like that, because that is years and years and years down the line, selective breeding and a lot of time on your hands and a lot of money to be able to invest in that sort of project. But if you're starting out, you know, what's the best thing to do? You know, I had someone ask me, I've got X amount of money to spend, should I buy 1 animal or should I buy 10? It all depends on what you want to create, what projects you want to go down, what route you want to follow. Like I said, if I could start again, I would most probably go down the recessive route from the start, knowing what the market is today and what it was back then. The market changes all the time. Now I think recessives are always going to be at the top of people's lists. They're always going to be more popular than codom stuff. It's just the way it is, especially when it comes to clown, you know, desert ghost, hypo, pied and things like that. They're always going to be more desirable than, you know, single gene and double gene stuff like pastels, fireflies, leopard pins, pastel butters, pastel lessers and things like that. There are your basic entry sort of snakes now. Although back in the day they were very expensive, let me assure you. But that's why I've sort of changed my sort of project and my goals. From when I had the problems with the electrics in the room, I had to rethink and adjust and evolve in my planning, in my ideas, in my sort of end goals, if you like. Now I started off by buying with my eyes, which I think is probably the worst thing you can do. Don't buy with your eyes, although it's really hard. I remember going through Doncaster Reptile Show after specific genes and walking through the tables, and these animals just catch your eye and absolutely stunning. Give me 5 minutes. What do you want?
You said you were done that.
Give me 5 minutes.
You're moving.
Cut! what I think is a great idea, especially if you're limited to money, or you've only got a certain amount of money and a small amount of space, is definitely, and this is what I would do, is definitely go down a recessive route. You know, you could buy a really cool male, buy yourself some hets, breed them all together, and suddenly you're hitting visuals left, right and centre with maybe 5 females all producing an average of 6 clutches, 6 eggs per clutch. Your odds are really high on producing some awesome visual recessive animals. Keep all the females back and grow your collection on from there. Within a few years, you've got, you know, a really powerful collection of visual and het stuff, if you keep het stuff back as well, visual recessive animals, and then you can work your way off from that. That's not for everyone. Everyone's budget, like I said, is very, very different, and you're not always gonna want to follow the same. You know, you get sort of people that you follow on YouTube and Instagram that you're inspired to be like, right? But everyone has a different entry level. Everybody has different funds available for them to spend on animals. Now, I don't have a great deal of money to be able to put into the hobby from outside of the hobby, if that makes sense. Anything that I make selling my animals, I do generally put back into the hobby to try and buy, you know, a higher grade female or a higher grade male. Now, a lot of people will have a lot more money than me and a lot more money than you, and they can pile money into this hobby, which is fantastic, don't get me wrong. A lot of people get a lot of hate and a lot of stick for doing that, but if I could, I promise you now guys, I really would. If I won the lottery tomorrow, then damn right I'm going to build a massive facility and I'm going to get ARS racks or freedom breeder racks everywhere, and I'm going to fill them with the most high-end animals that you can think of, because that's ultimately where we'd all like to be, right? And if we can fast track ourselves to do that, then why not? Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be buying the Batmans and buying the Gothams and things like that. I'd buy the ingredients to be able to make them myself, because I still want to make them myself. I don't want to just buy the end product and do it that way. I still want to make them, but I just give myself a massive head start than what I previously would have had if I could do that. But guys, it's totally dependent on your budget. It's totally dependent on how much effort you want to put in, how much time you want to put into it, because time is probably the most important factor above all else. It takes a long time to complete a project, especially if you're proving something out, especially if you're working with hets and you're working with hets from babies. It takes a long time. A female, as we all know, is not going to produce, you know, for at least 2.5 to 3 years, and around 1,500 grams and above in weight. Now, a male will obviously breed a lot younger and a lot smaller, but it's the females you need to give you the eggs, to give you those babies, to give you those, you know, future possibilities, right? So it's a long commitment. I've been breeding for over, I worked it out the other day, for over 13 years. I think I started in 2007 is when I first started. Yes, I've come out of the hobby a couple of times and re-entered and things like that. And at the start I did have a very powerful collection for the time. I invested a lot of money into a purpose-built brick snake house, top of the range racks, top of the range animals, excuse me, whether they be recessive or whether they be codom and things like that. But time, you know, it just goes to show life can get in the way, things can get in the way. You know, after 13 years, you'd think I'd be up there with the big boys, right? Not always the case. Not always the case, guys, because things don't always go to plan. Your projects don't always go to plan. Things outside the hobby can interrupt the hobby and take you away from it, like it did with me, which is a shame. But ultimately, you know, if this takes me another 10 years just to get to the same level as some of the breeders that I see today, so be it. I'm in it for the long haul. I've said it before, it's not a race, it definitely is a marathon, and you've got to be prepared for that. The amount of money that you can spend is sort of not really important, because in terms of the time that you spend, because the time that you spend, you know, not just keeping your animals clean, feeding them, breeding them, taking photos of them, taking them to shows, the time that you spend away from your family into this hobby is worth a lot more than any sort of physical monetary value that you can put into the hobby, if that makes sense. So guys, I hope that answered the question a little bit. I mean, we can talk further, you know, in... So So to the person that asked me that question, I hope that sort of answered it a tiny bit. You can DM me and we can talk about it in more clarification if you like. I just wanted to put something on video because I thought, you know, a lot of people might be thinking the same thing as you did. I may be afraid to ask about things like that. I may be afraid to ask about, you know, spending money and what's the best thing to spend your money on. Now, guys, this is just my opinion. You might think differently, which is absolutely fine. You might spend your money on something else or another project or another idea. That's why it's so diverse, this hobby. That's why it's so fantastic. There's so many different ideas and so many ideas that you can pull from people and put into one ball and make your own and then go for that idea, which is what is so fantastic about this hobby, right? So guys, what I'm going to do now is show you some feeding that I done last night. Now, not everyone fed because they're either in the breeding season and they're pre-laid, they've just ovulated, and things like that. Some of the babies didn't eat either, but some of them have come up to a shed, so I'm putting that down to why, because normally they feed fantastically. So enjoy this bit of feeding footage and I'll catch up with you in a few seconds. Guys, so what I do when I feed, so here are the rodents in here. They're in hot water, not boiling hot, but all I do is leave them in there. I leave them to thaw out for the majority of the day, and then I heat them up with hot water, but obviously not boiling hot or anything like that. One tip, guys, do not use boiling water when you're thawing out rodents, because trust me, it would be a messy, smelly end because they would just explode. So all I do is literally just that. Sorry about the bad lighting as well. Just that. Let them drip off. They're not going to be completely dry, but they won't be dripping wet either. So we're going to take one, get the excess water off, and we're going to offer one to this girl here. She was the first to lay for me. It's the cinnamon girl that was bred to the black pastel coral glow vanilla, and she, look at that, perfect. That's the sort of feeding response I like. Fire girl, she'll eat as well. She's a huge girl. Wanna eat? There we go. Perfect. I love it when they eat. She'll normally eat. There you go. It's a good response. We're moving to the big rack. She won't eat. She won't eat. She won't eat. She won't. So this is the pastel girl that laid the other day for me, and she's all wrapped a chip in her bowl, so I have to sort that out. So this will be her first meal since laying. So let's see if she'll eat for us. The tongue's definitely coming out. You want it? No? You don't want it? You do want it. There we go. Look at that response. So that's her first meal from laying eggs. So that is awesome. I'll let her eat that and then I'll sort out her water bowl. This was the second girl to lay for me. This is the big pastel butter girl. And she's been on her food, or back on food already. So let's grab another rodent. And she'll eat straight away. There we go. That's what I like to see. Try some of the males. Now this yellow belly, he's been off feed for quite some time, so I'm not expecting him to eat. He has been on a fast, and he's not really interested. See, he's backing away. Now he's been eating quite well, so we'll give him a slightly larger meal. This is the banana firebee male. You want this? There we go. Out of the tub as well. So let's pick him back up and pop him inside there. Let's see if the pastel lesser enchi wants something to eat. Yeah, he does. That's a good response. There you go, guys. Now, not everyone decided to eat, which is absolutely fine. It's expected, but I did manage to feed off what rodents I did have. Because some of them were quite small, I did offer some of the bigger girls an extra rodent, which is absolutely fine. I wouldn't feed massive rodents twice to a female, but because they were quite small, I haven't got a problem doing that whatsoever. And, you know, I don't want to waste rodents. And obviously, once you defrosted them and they thawed out, something has to eat them or have to go in the garbage, which is a shame because although they're feeders, I used to breed my own rats, as you guys know, and I wouldn't want that little rat to have wasted its life for nothing. So as long as something can eat it, it's the circle of life, then I'm happy. So guys, I'm going to end the video there. Thank you very much for checking us out today. I hope you're all staying safe, enjoying the weather wherever you may be. If you've got any questions or if you've got any interactions that you want to make with me, please let me know down below or hit me up at taexotics@gmail.com. Details will be down below. Also DM me on Instagram. Again, the link will be down below for you to follow me if you're already not. So guys, I'm going to be doing another giveaway very, very soon, probably the 2,500 mark. Long way off yet, but you guys done so well getting me to the 2K mark, which I'm forever grateful for. So keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep sending me all your positive comments. Send me your negative ones as well, because I like reading them also. But guys, stay safe, have a fantastic week, have a great weekend coming up, and I'll see you soon.